AITA for rejecting my ex-fiancée when she returned 3 years after walking away before our wedding? I'm Felix, 38, and at the time, people mostly knew me as the calm one. I was the guy who kept extra phone chargers in the kitchen drawer, saved receipts even for things I hated buying, and thought a wedding crisis meant the seating chart needed one more revision. I loved Lena enough to believe the hard part was already behind us. We had made it through families meeting, money talks, guest list arguments, and the quiet pressure that comes with everyone waiting to see if your relationship turns into a marriage. 1 week before the wedding, there were gift boxes stacked along the hallway wall, a planning binder on the table, and a shared email folder full of confirmations I had been too proud of. Relatives were texting me about arrival times. Marcus, one of my closest friends and a groomsman, had sent me a joke about hiding emergency snacks in his suit pocket. Ryan wanted to know if I had decided where the extra folding chairs should go. I remember standing in the kitchen with my phone in one hand and a printed seating chart in the other, thinking the biggest emergency left was whether Lena's aunt would survive being seated near my cousin for 3 hours. Lena had been distant for a while, but I thought it was wedding stress. She kept saying she was tired. She said everyone had an opinion. She said marriage had a way of making women disappear into routines. I listened. I reassured her. I told her we could slow down after the wedding, take more trips, keep our own interests, and build a life that didn't feel like a cage. She would nod and give me a half smile, the kind that looked grateful if you wanted it to be grateful. I wanted it to be grateful. The text came a little after 9 p.m. I was sitting at the table with the binder open, trying to find the final version of the playlist because Lena had changed her mind 2 times about the song for our first dance. My phone buzzed, and her name showed up. I expected another small correction. Instead, I got a wall of words. She wrote that I was good to her, steady, kind, and safe. She wrote that those were not bad things, but she could already feel herself disappearing into the life she was supposed to want. She said she couldn't become someone's wife before becoming herself. She said marrying me would mean resenting me later for the life she hadn't chased. She said I deserved someone who was ready to choose me without fear. Then came the line that sat in my chest like a stone. I have to choose myself before I accidentally turn you into the reason I never did. I stared at it for a long time. The kitchen was quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator. The wedding binder was still open in front of me. My thumb hovered over the call button. I wanted to hear her voice. I wanted to ask if she was serious. I wanted to ask why she couldn't have said this before the deposits, before the gifts, before relatives booked flights, before I had spent months telling everyone that she was just nervous because weddings were a lot. But the message wasn't a question. It was an exit. So I didn't beg. I didn't drive over there. I didn't send a paragraph asking her to reconsider. I typed one sentence, deleted it, typed another, deleted that too, then finally wrote, I understand this is your decision. I'll handle the wedding logistics. She replied with, thank you for being kind. That was the first moment I felt something in me go cold. Not because she had left. Because she had already assigned me my role in her story. I was supposed to be kind about being abandoned. The next morning, I opened the shared wedding email and started canceling my own wedding like I was doing customer service for a stranger's disaster. Every vendor was polite in the way people are polite when your personal life becomes a line item. The florist reminded me the deposit was non-refundable. The photographer said the cancellation window had passed 2 days earlier. The rental company charged a fee for the chairs, linens, and tableware we would never use. The bakery offered store credit, as if I were going to celebrate the non-wedding with cupcakes. I made a spreadsheet because that was what my hands knew how to do when my chest didn't know what to feel. Guest name, gift description, return status, shipping cost, refund receipt, notes sent. I changed the title from Wedding Gifts to Return Gifts and sat there looking at the screen like the file itself had embarrassed me. By noon, the family group chat had gone from normal chatter to panic. Felix, is everything okay? Should we cancel our room? Is Lena sick? What happened? I wrote a short message and sent it before I could make it emotional. The wedding will not be happening. I'm handling cancellations and gift returns. I appreciate space while I sort out the details. Please don't contact Lena on my behalf. My phone lit up like a slot machine. Sad faces. Questions. My mother called 3 times. Marcus sent, do you need me there? Ryan wrote, man, tell me what to do. Janelle, who had always been closer to Lena than to me, Sent. I'm so sorry. I hope you both find peace. Both. That word showed up a lot during those first days. Both sides. Both hurting. Both processing. People said it because they wanted to sound mature, but it made me feel like I had misplaced a wedding instead of being left by text 1 week before. Lena didn't disappear completely. She posted. Not about me directly, of course. That would have made her look cruel. She posted soft focus pictures of coffee cups and open roads in her hand against a window with captions about choosing yourself, refusing to shrink, and walking away from the life everyone claps for. People commented with hearts. Proud of you. This takes courage. You deserve to live fully. I was standing in a shipping store with a boxed-up blender under one arm when I saw one of those posts. I had packing tape stuck to my sleeve, and the clerk was asking if I wanted tracking on all the packages. I remember thinking that Lena had found a way to make leaving me look like a sunrise. I didn't comment. I didn't correct anyone. I kept mailing gifts back with short notes. Thank you for your kindness. Since the wedding is canceled, I'm returning this with appreciation. Sometimes I hand-delivered them because shipping was too expensive or because the giver lived nearby. Those were worse. People opened doors and saw me holding wrapped boxes like evidence. Some hugged me. Some avoided saying Lena's name. One older relative patted my arm and said, "You're handling this so well." I wanted to say, "No, I'm just not making noise where you can hear it." But I said, "Thank you." Naomi came into the mess on day 3 after the text. She wasn't Lena's best friend, despite what Lena later tried to imply. They knew each other through a wider circle. They had gone to some of the same birthdays, dinners, showers, and backyard gatherings. Naomi had been invited to the wedding because our social world overlapped, not because she and Lena were whispering secrets every weekend. She showed up with packing tape, coffee, a cheap phone charger, and takeout I didn't ask for. I opened the door and said, "You don't have to do this." "I know," she said. "That's why it counts." I almost laughed, but it came out wrong. She didn't ask for the whole story. She didn't sit me down and demand I cry for her. She looked at the boxes, the spreadsheet open on my old laptop, the stack of return notes, and said, "Show me your system." That was Naomi. Practical before sentimental. She matched gifts to names, checked addresses, taped boxes, and caught 2 mistakes I would have made because I hadn't slept. When I picked up my phone after Lena sent a late-night message saying she hoped I didn't hate her, Naomi watched me stare at the screen for too long. "You can feel whatever you want," she said. "Just don't create a message you'll hate tomorrow." I put the phone down. The next morning, I replied to Lena with, "I'll only respond to messages about remaining wedding logistics." She wrote back, "I didn't think you'd be this cold." I saved the message. I didn't know why at the time. Maybe because I was starting to understand that calm people are often accused of having no feelings, and proof matters when someone mistakes your restraint for permission. The first few months after the canceled wedding were strange. Some friends checked on me once, then vanished because my sadness made them uncomfortable. Some asked careful questions that were really attempts to collect a version they could repeat. Janelle told me Lena was going through a lot and hoped I could hold space for that someday. I told her, "I'm holding invoices right now." She didn't laugh. Marcus came over more than anyone expected. He was awkward with feelings, but loyal in practical ways. He took me out for breakfast when I stopped answering messages. Ryan kept inviting me to small things, and then warning me softly if Lena might be there. Naomi stayed steady, but never in a way that felt like she was taking up space Lena had left behind. That mattered. Naomi never treated my broken engagement like an opening. She treated it like a bruise she didn't have permission to press. She didn't flirt with me in the ruins. She didn't make comments about how she would have appreciated me. She didn't compare herself to Lena. Most nights, she would help for an hour, tell me to eat, and leave before pity could turn into something confusing. Months passed. The boxes disappeared. The last refund receipt got filed. The shared wedding email became an archive I avoided. Lena's posts got less frequent, or maybe I stopped looking. I started showing up to dinners again. I started answering texts. I started sleeping like a normal person. Naomi and I became friends slowly, through ordinary moments that had nothing to do with disaster. She sent me a picture of a terrible casserole from a group potluck and wrote, "This is either food or a threat." I ran into her while buying groceries, and she judged my cart because it contained coffee, eggs, and nothing green. At Ryan's backyard barbecue, she sat beside me on a lawn chair and told a story so dry that I laughed for the first time in a way that didn't feel borrowed. I noticed her carefully. Then I tried not to notice her at all. Dating someone who had known Lena felt messy, even though nothing wrong had happened. Maybe that was why I waited longer than I needed to. Maybe part of me was still living under the surveillance of people who liked soft phrases like healing and closure, but froze when facts made someone uncomfortable. The first honest conversation between Naomi and me happened after a group dinner. We ended up sitting in my parked car because neither of us wanted to pretend the tension wasn't there anymore. The street was quiet. The dashboard light made everything look more serious than I wanted it to. "I'm afraid this will look bad," I said. Naomi looked straight ahead. "Messy isn't the same as wrong. You knew Lena." I knew Lena. I was not Lena's keeper. "I don't want you turned into someone's rumor." "Then don't make me a secret," she said. "And don't make me into revenge." That was when I knew. Not because it was romantic in the movie sense. Because it was clean. No hiding. No emotional debt. No trying to prove anything to anyone who wasn't in the relationship. When Naomi and I started dating, I told Marcus first. He stared at his beer for a second and said, "That'll be a thing." "I know." "You sure it's not because of Lena?" "I'm sure." He nodded. "Then don't sneak around. Sneaking makes innocent things look guilty." So I didn't. I told people plainly. Naomi and I are seeing each other. I'm not asking for permission. I'm telling you because I respect you enough not to let you hear it sideways. Some people were surprised. Some were careful. Janelle sent back, "Wow. Okay. I hope everyone is being thoughtful." I knew what that meant. I also knew I had nothing to apologize for. Naomi and I dated for a long time before we got married. Not because we were unsure, but because neither of us wanted our relationship to feel like a correction to my old one. She learned how I got quiet when I was hurt. I learned that when she said, "I'm fine," she usually meant, "I'm giving you 10 minutes to notice I'm not." We had normal arguments about dishes, timing, family obligations, and the fact that she believed leaving cabinet doors open was not a character flaw. We also had a kind of peace I hadn't known how to ask for before. When I married Naomi, the ceremony was smaller, calmer, and free of performance. I didn't feel rescued. I felt chosen. There is a difference. Rescue makes you grateful to be wanted. Being chosen lets you stand up straight. For almost a year after that, Lena was just a chapter 1 didn't reread. Then she texted me. "I know this is unexpected, but I've been thinking about you. About us. I know I hurt you, and I think I finally understand what I was running from. I was young in my head, even if I wasn't young on paper. I hope we can talk someday." I read it twice, not because it moved me, but because it didn't mention the wedding. It didn't mention the text. It didn't mention the deposits, the returned gifts, the family humiliation, or the way she had let everyone applaud her freedom while I cleaned up the cost of it. It was an apology shaped like fog. Naomi was loading the dishwasher when I said, "Lena texted me." She froze for half a second, then closed the dishwasher slowly. "Show me." I handed her my phone. She read it silently, her face giving away almost nothing. "I'm not answering unless we agree on how," I said. "There's no version of this where you find out later." Her shoulders loosened a little. "Thank you." I wrote back. "I received your message. I'm not interested in revisiting the relationship. I hope you're well." Lena replied within 10 minutes. "That sounds formal. I was hoping we could have coffee. I think I owe you a real apology." I showed Naomi again. She didn't tell me what to do. That was one of the reasons I trusted her. I replied, "If you have something specific to apologize for, you can say it here. I'm not meeting privately." Lena wrote, "Naomi doesn't need to be part of everything." I stared at that message for a long time, then typed, "If your apology needs my wife to be uninformed, it isn't an apology." After that, she stopped texting for a few weeks. The next time I saw Lena was at Ryan's backyard gathering. He had sworn it would be casual. Paper plates, cooler drinks, lawn chairs, a few couples, no pressure. He told me Lena might stop by because Janelle had invited her and he didn't want to make it a thing. "It became a thing when you warned me like a weather report," I said. Ryan sighed. "I just want everyone to be able to be normal." Normal for who? He didn't answer that. Naomi and I went because I didn't want to organize my life around avoiding someone who had already taken enough space. The yard got quieter when Lena walked in, though everyone pretended it didn't. People started talking too loudly about chips, weather, and a card game nobody was playing yet. Lena looked different, but not in a dramatic way. Same careful smile, same way of making eye contact just long enough to seem sincere. When she saw me, her expression softened into something practiced. "Felix," she said. "Lena." Then Naomi came up beside me, her hand brushing mine. She wore her wedding ring because she was married, not because she was trying to make a point. Lena saw it anyway. Her eyes dropped to Naomi's hand, then back to her face. "Naomi," she said. Naomi's voice was even. "Hi, Lena." Lena looked between us. "You two are together?" Ryan, because he had never met a silence he didn't want to accidentally make worse, said, "They got married last spring." Lena's smile froze. "Married," she repeated. The whole yard seemed to hold its breath. Naomi said, "Yes." Lena laughed once, but there was no humor in it. "Wow. I didn't know." I said, "We didn't hide it." That was true. We hadn't announced it to Lena because Lena was not part of our life anymore. But we hadn't hidden anything from the people actually in it. For the rest of the gathering, Lena moved through conversations like someone walking through rooms in a house she used to own. She laughed too brightly. She asked Ryan's wife questions she already knew the answers to. She kept glancing at Naomi with a look I couldn't place until later. Ownership. Near the cooler, Lena cornered Naomi just long enough for me to hear the edge in her voice. "I guess I'm surprised," Lena said. "You were in my circle." Naomi held a paper plate with one hand and didn't flinch. "We knew each other, Lena. That's not the same as being owed control over my life. I just thought there were certain lines." "So did I," Naomi said. "That's why nothing happened until long after your engagement was over." Lena looked toward me. "Convenient." I stepped closer. "Say what you mean." She smiled like she was wounded by my tone. "I'm just saying life is interesting." "Interesting is one word," Naomi said. We left early. By the next week, the rumors had started. Janelle called me on a Tuesday evening with the voice people use when they want credit for being fair while delivering something unfair. "I'm not accusing you," she said. "That's never a good opening." She exhaled. "Lena is upset." Lena being upset isn't new information. She said there were signs. "Before the wedding. Between you and Naomi." I was standing in the kitchen, and Naomi was at the table sorting mail. Her head lifted. I put the call on speaker because secrecy had no place in this. Janelle continued. She made it sound like Naomi had been waiting for a chance. Naomi's face changed, not into anger exactly, but into the kind of stillness that means anger has decided to behave. I said, "That's not what happened." "I know. I'm just saying what she said." "No, you're repeating what she said." Janelle went quiet. I added, "There's a difference." After we hung up, Naomi sat back in her chair and looked at the ceiling. "I knew she might be uncomfortable," she said. "I didn't think she'd turn me into that." "She doesn't get to. She already is." That was the sentence that changed something for me. For 3 years, my silence had only cost me. I could live with that, or at least I had convinced myself I could. But now my silence was giving Lena room to accuse my wife of stealing a life Lena had abandoned. So I opened the old laptop. The shared wedding email was still archived. I pulled up the original breakup text and took a screenshot with the date visible. I found vendor cancellation confirmations, refund denials, returned gift receipts, shipping labels, and the spreadsheet I had made when I was too numb to cry. I found Naomi's first practical message to me from 3 days after the cancellation. "Marcus said you're drowning in returns. I can bring boxes and tape. No pressure." Then I found the months-long gap before anything between us shifted into something personal. Group dinner texts. A joke about a casserole. A message from me telling Marcus I was nervous about asking Naomi out because I didn't want it to look wrong. The timeline was boring, which made it useful. Real life usually is. The truth didn't need dramatic music. It needed dates. I wasn't building a weapon. I was building a record in case Lena kept handing people a lie. Then Marcus called. "I need to tell you something," he said. His voice sounded like guilt had been sitting on his chest all day. "What?" There was a group chat before the wedding. Not the main one. A smaller one. Lena, Janelle, a couple of others, and me for some reason. I closed my eyes. "Okay." She said things before she ended it. "I didn't show you then because I thought it would just make everything worse. I thought staying out of it was neutral. It wasn't." "I know." A minute later, screenshots came through. Lena, "Felix is safe, but safe isn't exciting." Lena, "I keep thinking, What if I get locked in and then realize this was the small life? Someone else had written, that close to the wedding? He'll fall apart. Lena replied, Felix will be fine. He's too steady to fall apart. I read that line until the words stopped looking like words. Too steady to fall apart. Not, I hate hurting him. Not, I'm scared. Not, I don't know how to do this. She had known she was about to hurt me. She had simply decided my stability made me disposable. She had mistaken my ability to stand up for proof that I couldn't bleed. Naomi sat beside me while I read everything. She didn't touch me at first. She waited until I put the phone down, then covered my hand with hers. I'm sorry, she said. I nodded, but I wasn't sure what I was accepting. An apology on behalf of someone else. Sympathy. A witness. Maybe all three. The old breakup text had made Lena sound lost and brave. The old group chat made her sound bored and curious about whether there might be a more exciting version of herself if she cut me loose first. That didn't make her a monster. It made her something more ordinary and, in some ways, worse. She was a person who wanted freedom without being seen as the person who had caused damage to get it. I told Ryan after that I would not attend events where Lena was going to sit near my wife and imply things. He said, it's been 3 years, man. For the wedding, yes. For the accusation, it's been about a week. I'm just trying not to make people choose sides. I'm not asking you to exile her. I'm telling you I won't bring my wife somewhere she has to sit politely through a lie. Ryan muttered something about everyone needing closure. Closure is not me pretending Naomi did something wrong, so Lena feels less embarrassed, I said. The pressure didn't stop with friends. Diane, Lena's mother, called me the week before a holiday dinner someone was trying to organize. I hadn't heard her voice in years, and for a second I remembered her crying when I returned a serving platter she had picked out for us. Felix, she said, soft and careful, I hope you know I always cared about you. I know. Lena is fragile right now. I didn't answer. She made a mistake, Diane continued. She should not have to be punished forever for being confused 3 years ago. I'm not punishing her. You were always the steady one. I hoped you'd handle this with grace. There it was again. Steady. Grace. Words people used when they wanted me to absorb impact quietly. I said, Grace was me not telling everyone she left me by text while I returned wedding gifts. Grace was me not correcting her posts about choosing herself. Grace was me keeping the story simple when it only hurt me. Diane's voice tightened. That woman did not need to be part of this. I sat up straighter. You can defend your daughter without insulting my wife. If you can't, this call is over. She was in Lena's circle. She is my wife. Diane went silent. I said, Lena left. Years passed. I moved on honestly. If Lena has a hard time with that, she needs to handle it without attacking Naomi. Diane said, you sound cold. No, I said. I sound finished. The game night happened because Ryan still believed normal could be forced if enough people brought snacks. He promised me Lena knew not to start anything. Naomi wanted to go, mostly because she was tired of being treated like the problem if she stayed home. We can leave whenever you want, I told her. She put on earrings in the hallway mirror and said, I know, but I'm not going to disappear so everyone can call that peace. Ryan's living room looked aggressively casual. Cards on the table, chips in bowls, drinks lined up on the counter. People laughing half a second too long at jokes that weren't funny enough. Janelle waved at us with a nervous smile. Marcus gave me a look that said he was sorry in advance for whatever was about to happen. Caleb, Naomi's cousin, was there too, leaning against the wall with the expression of a man already annoyed by the room. At first, nothing happened. That almost made it worse. We played 2 rounds of a card game. Lena sat across from us, smiling when appropriate, quiet when people expected her to be quiet, watching me and Naomi like she was waiting for us to reveal a crime. Then Ryan's wife mentioned our wedding anniversary coming up. It was innocent. She asked if we had plans. Naomi said, dinner. Maybe a weekend away if we can coordinate it. Lena set her drink down. Isn't that nice? No one spoke. I looked at her. What does that mean? She gave a small shrug. Nothing. It's just interesting how life works out. Naomi said, you keep using that word. Lena's eyes flashed. I'm allowed to find it interesting that the person who helped you through everything ended up marrying you. Caleb muttered, here we go. Ryan said, can we not do this here? Lena looked around the room as if she had been cornered instead of handed the microphone she wanted. I'm not doing anything. I just think certain things make more sense now. Marcus leaned forward. Lena. She ignored him. I guess I wasn't the only person making choices before that wedding. Naomi set her drink down carefully. Something in me settled. Not exploded. Settled. For years, I had thought dignity meant silence. In that room, looking at my wife being accused in soft little phrases, I finally understood that silence can become a shelter for someone else's lie. I looked at Lena and said, "Careful. You're about to turn your embarrassment into a lie." Her face reddened. "Excuse me. You don't get to leave me by text 1 week before our wedding. Let me clean up the mess alone, and then come back 3 years later acting like my life was supposed to stay empty for you." The room went so quiet I could hear the ice shift in someone's glass. Lena said, "I came here to apologize, not be put on trial." "No," I said. "You came here with an apology that had no details and an accusation that had no facts. That's not fair." What wasn't fair was paying cancellation fees while people commented heart emojis under your posts about refusing a small life. What wasn't fair was returning gifts with polite notes while you let everyone think you had simply made a brave choice, and I was fine because I was quiet. What wasn't fair was you telling people Naomi must have been waiting for a chance because you don't like what your own timeline says. Janelle stared at the table. Lena looked at Ryan. "Are you going to let him humiliate me?" I said, "No. I'm correcting the part where you turned your regret into an accusation against my wife." Her eyes filled with tears, but I had known Lena long enough to know tears could be real and still be used as cover. "I was scared," she said. "I made a mistake." "You made a decision. Then you made another decision when you started lying about Naomi." Naomi finally spoke. Her voice was quiet, but it cut through the room. "I didn't take him from you. You left him with both hands open." Lena looked like Naomi had slapped her. Naomi continued, "I helped him return gifts. I didn't help him forget you. I don't need you to like me, Lena. I need you to stop lying about me." Marcus rubbed his face, then said, "Lena, don't do that. You know the timeline doesn't back you up." Lena turned on him. "What timeline?" "The actual one," Marcus said. "And the old messages." Her expression changed so fast I almost missed it. Not confusion. Recognition. "I saw it." Naomi saw it. Marcus definitely saw it. Ryan said, "What old messages?" Marcus swallowed. "The ones from before the wedding got canceled." Lena stood up. "I'm not sitting here while everyone rewrites me into a villain." Caleb finally pushed off the wall. "That's rich." Janelle said, "Maybe everyone needs space." I looked at her. Space is fine. Accusing my wife is not. Lena grabbed her purse. "I knew you'd punish me eventually. I knew this whole calm act was fake." I said, "I didn't punish you by moving on." She left, and the door closed behind her with less drama than she probably wanted. Nobody jumped in right away. Ryan looked sick. Janelle was crying quietly, though I was not sure for whom. Marcus stared at his hands. Finally, Marcus said, "I should have said something back then." "Yes," I said. He nodded. "I know." Naomi touched my knee under the table, not to stop me, just to remind me she was there. We left 15 minutes later. On the drive home, neither of us said much. The streets were dark, and the radio was off. At one red light, Naomi reached over and took my hand. "I'm okay," she said. "I'm not sure I am." "That's okay too." By the next morning, Lena had started texting people. I knew because my phone lit up before I had finished my coffee. Ryan asked me if I could clear things up gently. Janelle wrote, "She says you're threatening to expose private messages." Diane left a voicemail saying I had broken her daughter in front of everyone. I had protected Lena's version when it only damaged me. That ended when she dragged Naomi into it. So I wrote one group message. I didn't include the humiliating parts one could have included. I didn't share every screenshot. I didn't post Lena's private self-growth speeches or every late-night text where she tried to make me comfort her. I included only enough to stop the lie. Since my wife is now being accused, I'm no longer protecting a version of events that leaves out 3 years of facts. Lena ended our engagement by text 7 days before the wedding. I handled the cancellations, returned gifts, and vendor fees afterward. Naomi's first involvement was helping me with gift returns after the wedding was already canceled. Nothing romantic happened between us until months later, and we were open about dating when it did. Attached are the relevant dates, breakup message, vendor cancellation confirmations, returned gift records, and the first messages showing Naomi's help was logistical, not romantic. I will not participate in any conversation that frames my marriage as revenge or my wife as someone who stole anything. I attached the clean timeline. Dates, receipts, short screenshots. Nothing intimate, nothing cruel, just the spine of the truth. Then I put my phone face down. The fallout was not explosive in the way stories online make you expect. Nobody threw wine. Nobody showed up screaming. It was quieter than that, and maybe more satisfying because it was real. Ryan texted first. "I'm sorry. I thought staying neutral was keeping peace." "It wasn't." Marcus wrote. "I should have backed you up sooner." Janelle took longer. "That night," she sent, "I owe you both an apology. I repeated something I didn't actually know. I thought you were being cold. I didn't realize you were being quiet." Naomi read that one twice, then put the phone down. "Does it help?" I asked. "A little," she said. "Not enough yet." That was fair. Diane stopped calling after someone must have shown her the timeline. I did get one text from her, though. "You didn't need to make this public." I replied, "Your daughter made it public when she accused my wife. I made it factual." She did not respond. Lena waited 2 days before sending her final message. "You didn't have to make everyone hate me. I came back because I missed you. I thought you of all people would understand that I was scared and confused. I never thought you would become this cruel." I read it in the kitchen while Naomi washed a mug at the sink. The ordinary sound of water running made the whole thing feel smaller than it used to. 3 years earlier, a message from Lena had collapsed the floor under me. Now it was just words on a screen from someone angry that the mirror had finally turned around. I typed, "I kept your reputation safer than you kept my marriage. We're done." Then I blocked her. Not to be petty. Not because I wanted the last word. Because the conversation had become a room with no doors, and I was done living in it. That night, Naomi and I stood in the kitchen after dinner, doing dishes slowly because neither of us wanted to talk and neither of us wanted to go quiet. She was barefoot, leaning against the counter with a towel in her hands. The house felt normal in a way that made the last few weeks seem even uglier. "I'm sorry," I said. "For what?" "For letting the lie breathe as long as it did." She looked at me for a moment. "You were trying to be decent. I was trying to be quiet. Those aren't always the same thing. I know that now." She folded the towel once, then again. "Next time, don't protect peace so hard that I'm the one paying for it." That landed harder than anything Lena had said, because Naomi was right. I had confused silence with maturity for too long. I had thought that if I kept my pain clean, people would respect the truth without needing to see it. But some people treat your silence like an empty page and start writing whatever makes them look better. I did not owe Lena hatred. I did not owe her revenge. But I also did not owe her a preserved image built out of my restraint, especially when she used that image to cut at my wife. The strange thing is, I do not regret protecting myself the way I did in the beginning. If I had exploded back then, Lena would have made that the story. The abandoned groom who could not handle rejection. The bitter ex-fiancé. The man too steady to fall apart until he finally did. I am glad I did not give her that. But I also know now that silence has an expiration date. Mine expired the moment Lena tried to turn Naomi into the villain of a story Lena started with one text and years of convenient omissions. I still have the old folder. The receipts, the cancellation confirmations, the return notes, the screenshots. I do not open it often. I do not need to. The point was never to live inside the proof. The point was to stop someone else from burying us under a lie. Naomi and I kept our anniversary plans. We went to dinner. We laughed about something stupid the server said. When we got home, she left one cabinet door open, and I closed it without making a speech about character flaws. She caught me doing it and said, "You knew who you married." "I did," I said. And I meant it. Lena came looking for the man she left behind. But that man had spent 3 years becoming someone she could not manage with regret anymore. I did not take her back. I did not apologize for marrying Naomi. I did not keep attending gatherings where people expected my wife to sit politely under suspicion so everyone else could call the room peaceful. I was safe, apparently. Steady. Reliable. Too steady to fall apart. Maybe that was true in one way. I did not fall apart where Lena could see it. I did not give her the satisfaction of becoming the proof that leaving me was brave. But I did build something after she left. A real marriage. A quieter life. A version of myself that no longer mistakes being calm for being available. I didn't punish Lena by moving on. I just stopped pretending my life had to stay open for her regret. If you like the stories, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.